Man, what it do, world? It's your boy Foul Shot on the Bamboozled Again News Network. Tell a friend to tell a friend it's him again with these random thoughts that I'm trying to get answers to. I don't know why. Like, even beforehand, early on in my spirit, like I went to church and stuff like that, but been broke away over 15 years ago. But I had certain spiritual questions that, opposing part or, whatever make very, very valid articulations, pro and con, right? Now, I'm under the belief, or I've heard a lot of people say, to honor God, we must honor his laws, statutes, and commandments, right? And in theory, okay, bet, which is, on the other side from the Christian church that don't honor nothing, right? So I'm all with not celebrating pagan holidays, my diet, how I treat folk, you know what I'm saying, based on the Torah, right? That's our culture from my understanding. But I had a passing thought. Um, it's actually almost hard, unwise. Now hear me out though, and almost impractical to practice the law in captivity, right? I give you a case in point, right? So I haven't eaten pork in almost 3 years, but not because of like spiritual reasons. I was just earlier on in treatment and just trying to find little stuff to just improve upon or whatever the case to add to my campaign, right? So when I was in treatment, I had a partner who was on the kitchen staff and they served ribs. Of course, I gorged myself, right? So after the fact, I asked him, did he prepare them? Or did he have some rather? And he said, nah, I don't eat pork. But from my understanding, he's not of any particular spiritual belief. So I said, oh, you like, whatever. He's like, nah, I just don't eat it. So I said, oh, so for whatever reason, that stuck on me. So I said, yeah, I'm going to stop eating pork just to say I stopped doing something, right? So it took me about 2 weeks because I didn't realize how much pork was a part of my diet. Sausage, bacon, you know what I'm saying? Slapping bacon up on a burger at the carryout. So I would do it unconsciously, bite into the sandwich, but oh man, pork. But I got it rolling at about 2 weeks though, right? And I say that to say this because I came across a meme yesterday here in Babylon. You'd be surprised of all the stuff that has nothing to do with meat that somehow has been affected or has pork, I guess, products in it. Gummy bears, um, Dunkin' donuts, Doritos, a few other just random items you ain't even thinking nothing about has pork in it. Now, I'm under the belief it's your intent. So he's not going to hold you responsible for what you don't know. But now, once you know it, you're not responsible for it. During there, I wouldn't say during there everything, but a lot of products you randomly consume have been defiled by pork. You know what I'm saying? I guess and then the rest of the food is poison and all jacked up. Like I went to the store one time to get some French fries, and the bag said 100% potatoes, and that just caught me up. Like, why? What else would it be other than 100% potatoes? You know what I mean? Like if you eat, or if you go get, let's say, some cinnamon rolls, the ingredients should say yeast, cinnamon, sugar, right? You go on the back, you got a whole paragraph of stuff you can't even pronounce. It sounds like a AI cybernetic warrior. You know what I'm saying? P with 17 letters dash 89. You know what I mean? So I'm like, yo, you know what I'm saying? But I'm going somewhere with this, right? And then in reference to that, just the whole swine and the scavenger of the sea, right? Um, a partner of mine who's more on the Christian side some years back, because we was talking about the same topic. And then he brought up a verse, which I then had never read, but then seen it in there once he had said it, in which I think it was Peter had a dream, because I guess he was real hard off on the law, right? And then he said in the dream, and I'm paraphrasing, and I forget exactly where it's at. I know it's in the New Testament, of course. And he was like, he had a dream where Yeshua was like, what about, I think it was cows and pigs were like intermingled or something. Um, and something to the effect of Yeshua said, why are you saying, or why do you think something is unclean that I have deemed clean, or something to that effect? But I was thinking that was more towards the Gentiles. Okay, cool, boom, right? Then I was thinking, right, about this doctrine of polygyny, right? Which I understand, like, let's say scientifically or whatever. A man is probably predisposed to have more than one woman depending on what type of man he is. And I know that was practiced in a lot of ancient cultures. Now, just because it's ancient don't mean anything, because there were a lot of pagan cultures during the ancient times, right? But like your African, your Middle East, they all practice it to some degree, right? But then I had and it sounds good, right? But again, how do you practice polygyny in captivity unless you live in a Mormon, Utah type of community? Because you can't legally go down and marry, multiple women at the same time, because then they'll lock you up. Now, granted, I'm also under the belief of not getting a marriage license, because you're basically, it's almost like signing a record deal. You know what I'm saying? In today's social construct, that essentially has, even if she's not like this, at any time she could pick up the proverbial loaded gun and use the court system, the social climate, for whatever the reason, to, get out of the marriage, no fault divorce, and then take half your stuff and blame you for it, whether you did or did not do something. You know what I mean? So how does it, because I was under the impression, like, okay, and from what I've heard other brothers say, like, you can have main wife and concubine or another wife somewhere else. But I'm like, wouldn't the goal for all of us to live together without, all that extracurricular threesome type stuff? You know what I'm saying? Or if you don't feel, or maybe you work towards that, but let's say it's better for you to stay apart and still woo the woo the woo. Is she even vowed to be a wife then if you can't come together under one roof? Sometimes, I'll be honest, y'all, I'll be wondering, is it just a ploy under the guise of misapplied doctrine to kind of just smash and feel good about it? I'm posing some valid questions here that if anybody can help me or give me some clarification in the comment section, it'd be greatly appreciated. You understand me? And at the same time, I also understand that just psychologically, a woman is attracted to a man who can get the attention of other women, right? But in this social construct, it's a slippery slope. Because I've always come to the understand, let's say you married or you're in a relationship, right? And then typically, like, if you don't stay on, you can kind of get complacent, or I got the woman, she ain't going to wear male ego, right? If she feels that you can't get other women, she about to carry the piss out you, because she feel like you ain't got no other option but her. So now she ready to start talking to you crazy. You understand? But then if you go out and entertain other women, and this is my belief, you can entertain other women so long as she feels they're either doing better than her or look better than her. But if you smash down just for the sake of smashing down, like Bone Quisha from the hood who act crazy and all that, oh man, she right through you. So you darned if you do, darned if you don't. You see what I'm saying? And then on top of it, and then like Moses had multiple wives, David, they were kind of super duper revered men, right? But I've never seen an example of polygyny in the New Testament. And then on top of it, Christ said that he came not to abolish the law, but fulfill it. So I'm kind of torn on that. You know what I mean? It's, and then on top of it, here in Babylon, essentially now you can marry a tree. You can marry someone of the same gender. You know what I'm saying? Every other form of marriage is now legal for the most part, for all intents and purposes, except a man having multiple wives. But 9 times out of 10, from what I've seen, a lot of times in this marriage contract culture that kind of socially or legally neuters you to some degree, I've seen numerous examples of a man's wife having multiple boyfriends and justifying it. It's like my question is, how much of the law can we keep? Like I said in the previous video, I then came across this verse in the Old Testament that had outlawed usury, which is basically loaning people money with interest. So am I in violation of the law if I participate in a usury-based economy? Because everything here in Western culture, at the very least, I don't know how it is other places, is based on credit. You can't do certain stuff unless you have credit or some form thereof. So am I in violation of the law because I participate in a usury system that was outlawed back then? I guess when we had our own, like we were under the law or like our own land and so on and so forth. But how much of the law can we practice in captivity? Even if you keep the Sabbath, right? They've turned that into essentially like a party day. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna, like me personally, I don't make no money and I don't spend no money, right? But now I may be geared to do something, and I'm wondering, will I be violating the Sabbath because I have to work on Saturday, right? But it's in reference to helping people. How does the Most High feel about that? And then I remember that one scripture in which they tried to put Yeshua in a trick bag because he did something on the Sabbath that by the law he wasn't supposed, or according to the letter of the law, he wasn't supposed to do. So I'm just confused about, do we keep the law? Do we not keep the law? And how much of the law can we keep and the Most High be pleased with us? You know what I'm saying? To the best of our ability. Here's another one, right? Which is kind of it's not along the lines of polygyny, but I've said this as well in other videos, right? Because we're here in Babylon, the most affected party by the culture, custom, ways, laws in Babylon is probably the American black woman. So I heard a video in which a brother was talking about, and he was attempting to, I guess, poke holes in the man doctrine or whatever, right? So in the previous video, he had read a verse pertaining to, again, this is in the Old Testament, basically where God was saying, like, stick with your own, like marry in your own tribe, right? And then he made the examples of when, like, Solomon or other people had got wives of other nations, how it became detrimental to him. And then he used the analogy of like Kobe Bryant. He married a Latina woman, but after his untimely passing, all his money, finance, resources, name, legacy went to the Latina community, not necessarily to his parents or you know what I mean? Which does, kind of make sense. But here's my problem with it, right? So I know in the word it says, if a man burn with lust, it's better for him to marry, right? So you burn with lust, so you're trying to solve that problem by marrying so that you can do that under the right, parameters, right? You can get mad all you want to, but this is just the fizz naive. This is just the reality of the situation. The average black woman, especially after she get a certain age, she loses her femininity. Like I've seen like almost physical changes. Like their facial structure looks harder, their shoulders getting broader. You know what I'm saying? Don't crucify me, right? No pun intended. But it's so if I stick to the letter of the law and I only marry a black woman, and keeping with the law would actually be unwise to do so here in captivity in Babylon. Again, that's why I say not even spiritual brothers, just brothers in general. That's why they're going to other races of women for the femininity, a better experience, whatever, whatever, whatever. You see what I'm saying? So they're doing something in wisdom that's actually breaking the letter of the law. Or do I keep the law and do it unwisely? Which goes back to the point I was making about maybe a few videos ago, like, what is God's plan for the daughters of Zion, and where does that lead the men of Zion? You see what I'm saying? Because outside of America, everything's, the value system is inverted, right? Now, the masculation agenda, you know what I'm saying? Voodoo brothers dusty, don't matter what you do, whatever, whatever. So they have brothers on the bottom rung here in America. But as soon as he stepped foot out of America, he's the most sought after man on the planet. That's why these brothers, now again, I don't condone sex tourism, But these brothers are going to Asia, they're going to Africa, they're going to, South America, all these other places, because they're getting a better experience with the women and the culture that upholds certain things. Now I'm under the belief women are women everywhere. But here in Babylon, the whoredom is encouraged, promoted, and justified. So even if you want to plant your seed, there's no fertile earth. All the earth is barren. On this particular point, it's so crazy. But then by the flip side of it, the proverbial black woman, outside of going, let's say, to the Caribbean, typically to trick off on meat, right? She sits high on the throne here in America because she's absolved of any accountability for any of her actions. And anything she does can be blamed on someone else, typically the black man. But no other race of men outside of this country is looking for a black woman outside of getting their Jimmy rocks off. Like they be going over to Dubai and getting dookied on and all that. And they ain't got no problem with it as long as they're getting paid. But none of these men are looking at these women as viable, wife options to build legacy and move his particular family and clan forward, That's why typically you notice black women don't go nowhere else but to the Caribbean or maybe Mexico or something to that effect. But they ain't going away to France because they ain't going to get no play. Not in relation to those women who are, because of maybe the social construct in those places, they still have to kind of have certain skills to compete, especially for a decent dude. Just basic stuff, just be able to cook something, be supportive, just regular stuff. Maintain yourself, you know what I'm saying? Here in Babylon, it's so inverted. And we see it all on social media where you have overweight, like obesity is rampant among the demographic of black women. But you have overweight women with numerous kids by numerous men, and then tell you gotta make six figures and have, 40 inches worth of meat and this, that, and the third, have a little thug in you and woot the woot the woot, just to take a bad deal. So back to my point in that, like, where does that lead the daughters of Zion? Especially for brothers who, and I've seen it all over, who are, and this reiterates something else I was talking about, who are walking away from society and walking away from relationships because they're not getting anything in return and it's too much of a liability. That's why these men are doing this. They're not doing it because they weak or they sell out or whatever. They've had these numerous repeated experiences that they've just thrown in the towel and say hell with it. Coupled with the fact the modern black, or most modern women in general, I don't just want to make it a black issue, say they don't need men nowhere. I remember I was talking to one of my co-workers, right? Now she's an overweight white woman. And she's talking about all these, negative experiences she's had with men, right? But then I asked a pointed question. I said, describe to me the type of dudes that you deal with. So she described, I'm like, that's your problem. It's not the men, it's the men you choose. You see what I'm saying? And then a man who's not, and I said this before, like, where I believe Babylon has rewired women's brains into what they find attractive or sexually appealing. You know what I'm saying? I was telling one co-worker, I said, when the last time you had some good, harmonious spiritual meat, yo? It's like they don't want to do it to you unless you exhibit some type of degenerate or hyper masculine or whatever image that has been programmed in mind of what a man is. So when you see a real man, you're either one, turned off, repulsed, or scared of him. So back to the kind of rotund white woman. So she explains that. And she said, I don't need no man. I said, in conversation, not like, you know what I mean? I'm like, yo, think about it though. How you don't need no man? And we were in her particular medical office, right? I said, you don't need a man. But the desk you're sitting in front of and the computer were more than likely made by a man. The chair you sit in was made by a man. The medication you give out was manufactured by a man. The car you get in to come here and go home was made by a man. The house you live in was made by a man, but you say you don't need no man though. And I'm not trying to knock, I'm trying to just open her mind to just be open-minded. You know what I'm saying? And then she hit me. I don't even know what she said, but it didn't make no sense. But I was just trying to point it out, like, the stuff we believe or the stuff we identify with doesn't benefit us any. You know what I mean? No other race of women outside of Babylon say they don't need their men. Like, another YouTuber pointed this out to me, like, in, let's say, the Hispanic community, you can see some super bad Hispanic women with a regular looking Hispanic dude. He ain't got no whole bunch of money. He ain't super jiggy fly. He ain't super tall, super muscular. But again, I understand they come from a culture that hasn't been eroded as much, you know what I'm saying, by what Babylon exports. And basically, that at this point, that's the only thing Babylon exports is its culture. They way over in Africa peddling, LGBT stuff and all that for foreign aid and whatnot. But we don't produce nothing here no more. You know what I'm saying? But trauma, you know what I'm saying? So back to my point though, right? Do I like it's a conundrum if you think about it. I keep the law by only attempting to find a marriage material black woman when they are few and far between from mentality, not mouth. So if I say the pickings are slim, because in society there are more women than men, but I like to believe, like I said before, as far as attempting to learn and grow in the truth, there has to be significantly more men than women. So is a brother wrong or against the law if he say, let's say, gets a white woman, but the white woman is following his lead as he's led by, Messiah and God, right? And she's a wild branch grafted in. Is that wrong? How do well, I get it. As you know what I'm saying, like if it's a white family or any Gentile family, and then they come to discover the truth and whoop the whoop, and then they're a family. But how else would a wild branch be grafted in unless like some type of intermarriage takes place to some degree? Then I was hearing this particular brother talk about not Hispanic people, but this particular person. I'll leave the name out. I don't want to keep making, you know what I'm saying? But again, he did bring up some valid points though. But I do have a counter argument for this. So he was saying in reference to this other brother's wife that she's Mexican, but her father is Spanish, like from the country Spain, which is a European country. But I know it's like Spaniards, like they look like they more like oily Caucasian folk. Just like your people from Greece and Italy have more of a olive tint to them. That's why typically, like back during before Depression times or whatever, there were Italian ghettos and so on and so forth, because they didn't count them among like English, French type white folk, because they got a little different with them. But I guess that's because of maybe Hannibal or Genghis Khan, or what I'm saying, like nobody's pure blooded out here. But he was making the articulation that because the Hispanic woman has a white father, that she's not Hispanic, meaning he's dating interracially because she's not of the 12 tribes because your lineage comes from the father. And I would agree. But my counter argument to that would be, if you go in my DNA or in my lineage because of slavery, I'm pretty sure there's a white man somewhere in there. So does that make me diluted? Does that make me not as Israelitish? Because 4 or 5 generations ago, Massa Thomas, you know what I'm saying, slept with somebody and then the line branched through that, you know what I'm saying? I'm just wondering, yo. And I'm not trying to, sow discord or nothing like that. I'm a truth seeker. I just want to know the truth. And I'm a firm believer. If I'm seeking the truth, I should know the truth when I hear it. You know what I mean? But a lot of times when I ask these like type of questions, whether it be in a church or whoever, next thing you know, I'm finna get blackballed because I'm just not See, people take you asking questions to, let's say, someone in authority as you undermining or whatever. No, I'm asking a question. You in charge, you should know, or at least be able to find out the answer and get back to me whenever you feel it. You can get Russian, you know what I'm saying? But they'll take it as you just not gonna believe what I believe. That's how you get bamboozled by anybody, by me. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm asking for, if anybody has any insight to anything I've said, please feel free to share it in the comment. Each one teach one. You understand me? But it's almost, I think that's why they gave us swan during slave. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't know who we are. And I know there's a scripture, I forgot which prophet it was, but he talked about in the land of your captivity, and it's referring to the latter time that you'll begin to remember who you are. You know what I mean? So maybe that's why throughout my journey, I've just kind of not even had conscious thought, but I just started or stopped doing certain stuff that would be in alignment with the law. You know what I'm saying? Like out of nowhere, I just say, yo, I'm going to just stop. Like I try to do it from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. From my understanding, that's when God, like how they used to do it. Well, that's how they did the calendar back in the days, right? You know what I mean? Like say, even if you want to keep like, I don't celebrate no pagan holiday, none of that stuff they come up with here, right? But let's say they were gonna, and I guess it's intent, right? But let's say I've been hard pressed to find out what are the actual days of like the Day of Atonement. Like I did see that it popped on my feed from an Israelite channel. But the dates were off. It was like today is the Day of Atonement. But I had posted a year before and it was like 6 days off. You know what I'm saying? So how do I do that? Does anybody really know these dates concretely or for sure? You know what I'm saying? Or to honor the past, you know what I'm saying? You know how like the stuff, the dates be changing and all that. You know what I'm saying? But typically in the scriptures, whenever it was a date for something, it'd be on the third month on the 10th day, regardless of what day that falls on. You know what I'm saying? So March 10th is March 10th no matter what. You know what I mean? But these are just a few questions I had in reference to keeping the law. How much of it do we and can we keep in practicality? You know what I mean? And where like as far as us, and I'm starting to come to this belief, and maybe in your own small little way, in your community, maybe your family, but in mass in general, I don't think we come together until God put it together somehow, some way, however He do that. Because ultimately, if we're able to get together and do it, through our own planning or strategicism or whatever you want to call it, it wouldn't be a supernatural act by God. You know what I'm saying? I think we can prep for it, be mindful for it, but I think He got to do it. Because every time previous to this we've tried it, the leaders got shot or got infiltrated and taken down. You know what I mean? Man, I tell you what, though, I said all that, man, I hate Babylon, cuz. Sickening to the kid, B. Word up, man. Everything here, the money fake, we just still use it. You know what I mean? Everything's illusionary. The banking system, the wealth, all that's dookie. You know what I mean? And even in my personal life, I got a passport and all that. And I did everything in my power. And I know a whole lot of stuff because I research all the time to escape Babylon and live the type of life I want to live that's conducive to me and ain't been able to do it. Mysteriously. Which I said this on here. I saw, and when I was reading the Apocrypha, I think one's in Jasher and one's in Maccabees. No, one's in Jasher, and the other one's like the story of Joseph, right? In which, in these two instances, Joseph was in jail, and the tribe of Levi was in, Egyptian captivity, whatever. And they formulated a plan to get themselves out of it. And the way it was worded, in both instances, especially with Joseph, it says God punished them by trying to come up with their own plan to get out of something he had set forward that was vexing to him. In Joseph's case, it said he left him in jail another 2 to 3 years and punished him for trying to get out of it prematurely. So then I kind of wonder, yeah, we got free will, but how much am I actually able to do under my own volition? You know what I'm saying? Now I do what I can. Now I don't be all super scrambling around. I get what I get. I do what I do, and I leave it at that, man. And if He want me to do some old other stuff, He will show me. You know what I'm saying? But I think He does all that to show His power. Because if you look at it, let's say black men here in America, we're the most powerful, powerless people. And I don't mean necessarily legally or in society. Any power we got don't come because of us. It's because of the Most High. They say, oh, how Negroes and women sing to the heavens and all that. That's out of pain. That's forced in the soul where the Most High live at. That's why Negroes out sing everybody, out dance everybody. You know what I'm saying? Outrun everybody. We've been running since we've been invented. You know what I'm saying? That's why Negro make something out of nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like magic, almost like alchemy. You know what I mean? Just thinking, you know what I mean? Oh no, man. I just be thinking, yo. Excuse my brain, y'all, you know what I mean? But on that note, man, that's all I had. If y'all got any insight for me, it'd be very, very welcome. You know what I'm saying? Holla at y'all, man. But it's all good.